Thanks, listeners, for tuning in today. This edition of Elko Live on Tuesday, as we set aside to talk about Elko City news and issues, and we have two of our favorites here today. Our Elko City Vice Mayor, Mandy Simons, joins us alongside our Elko City Parks and Recreation Superintendent, James Wiley. Welcome, Mandy.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for being here today. As always, we appreciate the chance to catch up with Councilwoman Simons. Is your microphone working? Let's see. There, that's better.
Oh, is that good?
Yeah,
okay.
You just have to jump up on that. Okay. James, thank you for being here. We've got a lot of cool stuff to get updated from you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here again. I've been here a little bit the last couple of months, but I've got some updates for the listeners today.
Excellent. We do appreciate that. It is the season, and we were just discussing amongst ourselves as, parents and city officials and, how getting passed for the pool for swimming lessons, I guess I should be specific, is like getting Taylor Swift concert tickets these days. Yeah. It's quite in demand.
Yeah, so they, they only have just so many slots, so many lanes of the pool, and so many teachers. And so I was saying the last couple of years, 2 years ago, we couldn't get in, and we were gone so much we just didn't do them. And last year I set an alarm and I got up at whenever it opens at midnight or whatever, and I still didn't get in, and we had to do the private lessons. And so my goal this year is I'm going to get a slot.
All right.
I don't know what I have to do.
Well, it certainly is not being vice mayor of the city of Elko. That doesn't give you any perks.
Yeah,
so.
That probably puts me at the bottom of the list for swim lessons.
All right. So we just wanted to get that right off the top. So just in case. So obviously, man, why don't we start with you? Because like I said, we kind of want to ride along the waves of some really cool, good news. But we do know that there was a presentation during the April 25th council meeting last week's. And it was just a presentation, so no action. But a lot of community concern about what's being described as a public nuisance. And there's quite the process to eradicate such a thing, right, Mandy?
Sure. So at 837 Idaho Street, the old Elko Inn, it has now been sold to a new owner. It was not in great shape under the old owner. And so a group in Utah, their business is that they'll go in and they'll find some kind of old hotels or motels that need a little TLC, and they'll turn them, kind of flip them and then rent them out as housing with at least a portion of them dedicated to low-income housing. That's their business. And that was their game plan. However, so far, not a lot has been done on it. And it is an eyesore. And it's attracted people committing crimes. The police chief reported that they have, I don't even remember, something like 30 incidents a week.
I think there have been like 50 calls, since or
maybe in the last
beginning
of the year, maybe.
Definitely.
So, but multiple a week to their drug dealers, theft, all sorts of things are happening, and that's kind of the base. People have pushed out, either broken through doors or they've pushed out like the little air conditioning units and crawled through that hole, and they have made it their home. They have been there, I'm sure, multiple months, some of these people. And they've just taken it over. And so we invited the gentleman that is the new owner in to kind of explain what on earth is going on. We had a presentation by our city planner that kind of said, okay, so, she invited the police chief up. This is what's going on. There's a lot of crime going on over there. And then she explained how the water had been turned off, so it's inhabitable by most people's standards. They hadn't been paying their trash bill, and so they had come, and Elko Sanitation had come and taken away their dumpster. It's just this horrible, and there's graffiti. For those of you that have driven by it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Horrible graffiti, profanity on there. And so we were just kind of saying, why, like you this is a huge investment, and why are you not taking care of it? And then he had his turn to get up, and he just kind of said, well, they have painted now over the profanity. And he said they were trying to evict people, but apparently he's going through a legal process to get these people off of his land, and that he couldn't get out here multiple times because of the weather, and he kind of told it from his point of view. But at the end of the day, it is his responsibility. And so he acted like he really did plan on getting in there and fixing things up, and he's just trying to get these people out. And I don't know. I have no idea what he has and hasn't done and what needs to be done, but we did want to hear his side of the story, and so we talked about that. And again, it was just a presentation, so we didn't take any actions on that. But he has assured us that we will see change coming. We had a few suggestions that he might look into to getting the squatters out of his building so that he can, and we did tell him that he needs to get a fence around this facility. It's not okay that businesses and homes around the area, there were people that presented on their doorbell camera or whatever, they caught somebody trying to break in. It's not a great situation. So something needs to be done. And so we just wanted to get the ball rolling, have him know that it's on our radar. There was another item on the agenda where if somebody doesn't have, in city code, there's it's section 9214A, and it talks about how if at any time the accumulation of solid waste, basically your trash or other waste material, isn't hauled or removed, and that it becomes offensive. And we have huge piles of trash over there. There's mattresses, just everything you can think of. And obviously, if they've taken away the dumpster now, where's all that trash going? So if at any time it becomes offensive, then the city council can give an order that says, hey, you have 30 days, you have 60 days. If they don't do it, we can declare it a nuisance and remove it in whatever, ways reasonable, and then basically send them a bill. And so we looked at doing that. However, in the last few days before this meeting, they had brought another dumpster over. It's just a construction dumpster. It's not regular dumpster service. So we're going to wait and see. And if they are getting that emptied on a regular basis, that's great. Like, that fulfills the requirement, and we'd be thrilled with that. But if it continues to build up, then the city will step in and do something. And we talked about the fence, told him he needed to get a fence. We're hoping that he does that. So this is the first step. Our attorneys are going to look into what we can do and what our next steps are going to be if this gentleman does not start taking care of his property. And again, it's really an eyesore every time you walk past it. I remember when that graffiti went up, and it stayed there a long time before they took care of it. It's not okay. It's really bringing down that whole portion of Idaho Street and all the surrounding homes. There's homes just right behind that. So it's a sad, sad situation, and we're hoping that he'll know that we're taking it seriously, and maybe we'll see some improvement shortly.
Elko City Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Mandy Simons. And Mandy, the mayor did not mince words, and I think that that came across loud and clear, because the city does have some leverage, because this gentleman, Keith Warburton, does want to convert the property into, as you were describing, some sort of transitional housing, which Elko does need. Think about victims of domestic violence, families who cannot transition from an abusive home because they simply can't afford to move into a regular apartment or house. They may have that as a goal. They need a safe place. There may be people who are trying to turn their lives around where those studios would make sense, and they are done well in other communities. He, in fact, mentioned that he had won awards for doing such a thing in Utah. We haven't verified that independently. He is an out-of-state owner. But the mayor, again, said, if you want a conditional use permit for this property in the future, you are going to have to change your ways.
That's the thing, is right now it's not an automatic, it's not really zoned for that. It can be. We just have to give you a conditional use permit, and you're going to have to come in front of us and ask for that. And if the weather really was a huge problem, which it was a tough winter, I get it. If he really has been doing all this work and it's just taking a little time, and now he's ready to go and things just really start moving and improving, and awesome, great. I think that we would really consider that. But if it's just going to be this time and time again, then don't even put in all that money, because it's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to let you into our community if you're not going to be responsible.
And the city does have the leverage to do that. In fact, it wouldn't just be an independent council decision. You heard from business owners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the business owners around there are not excited. And you're right, we do need low income and transitional housing in any community. That's an important attribute of any city. But we want you to actually provide something, and what's happening now is not that.
I just wanted to recall, and Mandy, you may or may not have been part of the community at the time, but I was going to say it was maybe 20, 25 years ago, and James may or may not recall this, but there was a plan, and it fit within at the time, the zoning to put in an adult bookstore in the heart of downtown Elko, and that created an uproar in the community. James is nodding. And what the community did was get together and buy out the building, because it fit within the zoning. They couldn't do anything about it.
Exactly. So, and there are some situations that have come up like that. But this one, they actually have to go through this extra step. And so I guess you don't want the people that hold that power in their hands to think that you're completely irresponsible, and you don't care about the community, and you're not going to run your business in a good fashion. So it's kind of in his court right now, although our attorneys are, like I said, looking into what our next steps might be if nothing happens. So we're just going to wait and see for a couple of weeks until our next meeting.
Thanks, Mandy. It'll be an ongoing agenda item. There's plenty of community concern. The city is taking action, and it is important to note city staff has been working on this since last June. So thanks to Michelle Rambo for her dedication. A number of city staff have inspected the property, accompanied by police, so this is all well documented. So it's an ongoing issue, just a little more patience from the community. Do you think that's a fair assessment, James? I know you were at the council meeting too, and
Yeah, I think you guys covered that very well. I was there. It was shocking, but I get the intent of what the owner is trying to do. I just hope that he can get moving and get going in the right direction, because that has been a big problem for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we can all envision something really nice for that property, and certainly, and to help people would be wonderful, but what has been happening, it doesn't reflect that. So, Councilwoman, Vice Mayor Mandy Simons, do you have anything else that you want to jump on from the most recent meeting agenda before we switch into James?
No, the other big issue that we had, maybe I'll just mention it for just a second, but we have several years ago, more when I first came on the council, so probably like 8 years ago, we had a downtown problem with our bars, just trash and other things everywhere by the morning, a lot of crime, a lot of fights, a lot of whatever, and so we redid a lot of our codes. And the police chief, they really started cracking down, and they have worked very, very hard to get the owners on board. And we now have so many responsible bar owners that really, the first sight of trouble, they call the police in to help them. They are so good about not over-serving. They're so good about not serving underage. They really are trying hard to have an awesome establishment. But every once in a while, we have a bar that, for whatever reason, drops the ball a bit. And so we had that situation with one of our local bars, and so we had them come in, and the police chief, when she first bought it, talked with her and said, hey, this is what we expect, and this is what we ask of literally everybody. And so this is the punch bowl, and it had a new owner, and so we brought her in, we talked with her, we said, hey, these are the problems we've been having. Again, a lot of the businesses from around the area came in and said, we just can't, it's disgusting. And they're not following codes, and they're not following city laws, and when you have a liquor license, that's a privilege license. And there are a lot of extra rules and expectations that go along with those. And if you're not going to follow them, then no more liquor license, which for a bar is pretty damning, right? It's kind of hard to have a bar without a liquor license. Anyway, and so we brought her in, and she did express a desire to do better. And so we're hoping that happens. We want all of our business owners to thrive. And so we've just kind of talked with her about some of the changes that need to be made, and so we'll see what happens there as well. It's another business that we don't want an eyesore, and we don't want that kind of establishment in our community. But again, great intentions, and if you follow through with those, then great. So that's another one that we're waiting on, and hopefully all ends up well with that as well. But nobody in this community wants trash everywhere. We don't want to drive past a hotel or a bar or any other business and see that kind of stuff going on. So we're just going to wait and see on that one as well.
Thanks, Mandy. That is a good update and something that the council will be following. And, you're right. It was a work in progress, but now it seems like most of the bar owners are really happy to be in compliance. It makes a much safer environment
It
for
does.
everybody.
And if they call in the police just at the moment they even think something's going wrong, then it's better for everybody. And really, most of them do that now, and they're all on board, and we have a really good relationship. I've been on ride-alongs in the night where they go and they do the walkthroughs. They just have a really good rapport with most of those business owners, and so it's a great team if we all work together to make that happen.
Elko City Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Mandy Simons with an update from the most recent meeting. Well, Mandy, with that, I guess you can sit back and enjoy James.
Pass it off to James.
Oh, sounds great. Thank you. James Wiley is our Elko City Parks and Recreation Superintendent, and you're always a busy guy, so if from one season to the next. So the snowball's buttoned up for the year, and now it's on to the swimming pool, correct?
Yeah, although we will be up at Snowball, and I'll touch on that a little bit. But I can talk about the swimming pool first, and we'll go into some other areas. So I think it's pretty well known in the community that our pool is very old, and it's pretty much done for, our pool. I mean, I don't know how else to coin that. We are fortunate to keep the doors open, but however, we are limited to the indoor pool right now. And we're looking into lots of options. There will be a presentation at the council meeting by Nikki Johnson, our pool manager, just kind of updating the council and the public on some of the minor issues and some of the major issues that we have going on over there, just so the public's aware of what we're up against and trying to operate a pool in the state that it's in. The good news, though, is that we do have the indoor pool, and we do plan on having programming, albeit it will probably be frustrating for some because we're used to having more pools. So it's going to be a little frustrating for our users, but we're going to do the best that we can and provide as much service as we can. So we'll start with swimming lessons. This year we've reduced the period of time for swim lessons from 2 weeks to 1 week, and that's in an effort to allow more people to participate because we do have limited space. So starting June 19th through the 23rd will be our first session for 4 and 6 year olds. On the heels of that, June 26th through 30th will be our 7-year-olds and up. And then throughout the rest of the summer, we'll have 2 additional sessions for each one of those age groups. So 3 full sessions for those age groups going all the way through August 11th. I would want to remind the public to keep an eye on our Facebook page and our website because you do need to register online for these classes. You can come into the office, but when we open it up for online, they go really fast and they're usually filled up within the first half hour or first hour of opening those up. So I do apologize for that, but there is so much demand on our lessons that I don't know how to really make that any better. Just be on the ball and try and get online. If you want information on how to register online, you can call our office at 777-7260, and we can walk you through the process on that.
And now, James, the obvious question, and you've heard it too, why can't the outdoor pool be open in the summer? Because it's hot outside, right? I mean, what people say, can we swim in the outdoor pool?
Yeah, so this winter we had some issues with our boiler system. We have 2 boilers. We have a lead and we have a lag boiler, and they work in conjunction, and it's not separated by pool. It's for the entire facility. So they work in conjunction. Well, when we're down to 1 boiler, and so that 1 boiler simply doesn't produce enough heat to facilitate all of our pools. So it's pretty much limited to the indoor pool. We're working on addressing some issues with that boiler. We've finally found out that we can get some parts and maybe get that second boiler up and going. So the heat is one issue for the outdoor pool. Another issue for the outdoor pool is our circulation through that. That's how we distribute our heat. That's how we clean the pool water through the skimmers. That's how we add our chemicals to balance our pH and all of that stuff. We have some pretty serious issues with our circulation. It sort of works. Unfortunately, most of that stuff is below ground, below the level of the pools. So in order to really get in and address that, you basically have to go in through the pool below ground and either, fix it or replace it. mostly due to the age of the pool. So the indoor pool at best is barely functioning. Nikki spent a couple of days testing and trying and threw a little heat at it, and we did gain some temperatures. So this warmer air temperatures are helping. Maybe when we sustain outdoor temps, up in the 80s or 90s, we could open that. I just want to let the public know that it's not all rosy though, because if we lose that circulation element, that outdoor pool is likely done for good.
And it's important, James, because just for the simple health, you can't have kids swimming in Band-Aids, and that's what it's for. That's what
things grow. Sorry.
That's okay.
Things grow on standing water.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nobody wants to jump in. So, yeah, and you have to realize that you hate to throw in a bunch of money if, in fact, the Boys and Girls Club are going to build a brand new pool, and we're not going to need this. Are we willing to put forth $500,000 or $1 million into a pool that in a few years is not going to be open anymore? And it's hard. It's hard decisions to make because we want to keep it, limping along until there's a better option. But at the same time, like, how much money are we really going to throw in? Just, good after bad.
Keep it limping. And that, James, did we finish though with the explanation about how the pool will be open before we switch into? Because I think everybody saw, or hopefully saw, a really cool rendering the swimming pool concept, which is in the design stage, as Rusty Barr, Boys and Girls Club CEO, popped in at the council meeting on the 25th at the top of the meeting in public comments and said, "Hey, we're going to be voting on what kind of pool we want, right? So we want to talk about what that means."
Sure. So I'm anxious to see both renderings. I have been in some meetings with Rusty Barr and other stakeholders, and we've discussed, the basics and the general aspects that come with a pool, and maybe some of our wants and mostly some of our needs. But at the end of the day, I think he's doing a good job. But it's going to come down to finances. There's a cost to these things, and I think it's good to have the public interact and participate, and not to be a negative Nelly, but to be real and honest about things. There is a budget, and we're going to have to stick within that budget. I think we're going to have a good product in the end, though. So we're going to try and check as many boxes as we can on those, and Rusty and his group's going to do a good job at that, but there might be a few that we have to uncheck.
And sometimes you can pick up those things in later phases, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But I think the most important thing to remember is somebody mentioned that some of our sweet lifeguards, most of them are lifeguards, and those who teach our swim lessons, they're kids for the most part. Those are teenagers. And people, understandingly, are a bit upset about not having this awesome pool that they can just go to anytime. And some people want to take it out on our kids. Or even our staff. And I just want them to know this. Rusty, I really, truly believe, is working his little heart out. Nikki is looking at every option possible. The council wants a pool, but again, how much money are we going to put in something that we're not going to have? It's just not a simple, hey, let's just fix the boiler, or what. It's not a simple fix. This is very complicated, and everybody's doing their best. And we're going to have to limp through this. This is not ideal situation, but everybody understands that. So if we could just beg for a little patience and a little understanding, and know that there are multiple people working so hard and trying to be as creative and conscientious with money as we can, and just know that hopefully in the next, 5 years or something, things will get better.
And it sounds as though the pool has been prioritized. Is that a fair assessment, James?
It is a priority, and I think, yeah, sure, absolutely. We're moving in that direction. That's what we want to accomplish, and definitely from a Parks and Recreation standpoint, that has quickly risen to the top as a priority. So whichever direction we end up going in, it's going to remain a priority until we get there.
All right. And just to remind listeners, it is a public-private partnership. Boys and Girls Clubs are leading the way, and this has been in the works that they would take the lead on the swimming pool for probably a decade. That is included in the city's master plan. So there's no sense hashing over those details. But the reality is that we are on the doorstep, as you said, of funding. And I saw where the city of Winnemucca recently, they put out a preliminary proposal. You're probably following that in Winnemucca. For a new pool, they have to replace their pool. They have an estimate about $13.1 million to replace their pool, James.
And that's horribly conservative and probably quite small, because pools now are being built for more like 40.
Yeah, and it's not just in our little area of Nevada. It's across the country. I've seen so many articles about cities that are in a similar situation as Elko. The fact of the matter is we build these things. We spend a lot of money on the front end. They're always expensive, and we try and make them last forever. And I'm really proud of the city of Elko from that standpoint, because we have gotten every penny that we spent.
Absolutely.
And we've added a lot of pennies to keep this thing open as long as we can. But the reality of it is there's a number of old and decrepit aquatic facilities across the country. Numerous communities are trying to go out to bid, and they are getting to that bidding point, but they are being literally shocked by how high the bids are. And they're in a spot where you can only have so much money to do something, and a lot of them are postponing them or rethinking to the point of can we provide in terms of service, because unfortunately it's too much money in a lot of cases.
And obviously, just sitting on the sidelines, just like the rest of citizens in Elko. Because we have been looking at this as a pair of projects. So this city pool and attached recreation center, which is, I think, as Councilwoman Simons mentioned, these things could be phased in depending on what we need.
I'm sure once bids come in and they have know their exact budget, that they can make those decisions. But they know that a pool is critical, and he said many times, Rusty has stated, that's priority number one. So we're grateful for that. And they're waiting on legislation. There's some legislation could affect these projects. And so I think everybody's just moving along, and we're trying to finalize what can and will be done.
So that's probably the best place to leave it for now. I think Councilwoman's alluding to SB 226. That's the prevailing wage that could stifle these public-private partnerships going forward. Anytime public resources are used, there's still too much out there to really say how it could impact.
We're just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
We've talked with the governor and we've talked with legislators, and we have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, because at this point, I talked to Burt Gurr just on Sunday, and he said, it's a Senate bill. So he was saying that, but it's passed out of both houses. It's pretty much, if it passes, it would be up to the governor to veto it. But whether or not he wants to use his veto on that.
Right. He has expressed that is not one of his favorite bills. But yeah, you never know. And so everybody's just crossing their fingers that it can work out. And it wouldn't just be our project that really affected. There's going to be multiple projects that affects. Absolutely.
So let's not go there too much, I guess, because James, like I said, you're our Parks and Rec superintendent, our city vice mayor and council member, again, working in partnership with a private organization, Boys and Girls Club, putting best foot forward, wanting to replace the pool. And that's pretty much where we are right now. So thank you for describing the options for swim lessons. Get online, or as you said, online is where you have to register.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have any questions about that, please call our office. Again, that number is 777-7260, and we can walk you through that process. Nothing is open yet, but...
Did you mention what day that opens?
I don't have a specific day. It'll probably be...
Is it not...
These are when the classes sign-ups begin May 22nd. There it is. Right
at 8 a.m. I thought I was going to have to get up at midnight to get a slot, but 8 a.m.
So that's a little more friendly than midnight,
yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I think we better make that the top of the newscast from here on out, so that parents competing
Swim
and buying.
sign-ups are coming.
Yes. Maybe we can go for that. Well, no, we wouldn't want to do that. It's a municipal pool. I was going to suggest the highest bidder, and then money could go to replacing the pool. So no, we won't do that.
Oh, no.
So anyway, we have lots more. I shouldn't say lots more, because I know listeners, you're always so patient. We do, with our James Wiley here, our Parks and Rec superintendent, did want to go over a few more things. Did we cover, most of what you wanted to with the pool, James?
Sure. And for the listeners, tune in to Tuesday's council meeting, because Nikki will be making a presentation, and it's going to allude a little more detail than what I alluded to on this program. But yeah, tune in.
Okay, and that'll be next week on the 9th, I think. Yeah, Tuesday, city council meeting on the 9th. Anything new on Phase 2 Sports Complex?
I don't know that there's really anything new. We are still trying to wrap up the final design. We're working on a few of the civil engineering elements that come with the project, and we're trying to finalize those. I know that City Council's given us authorization to go out to bid for the project, and we did that by design. We wanted to get that one out of the way, but there's other steps that are involved. So we've still got to secure a bond before we go out to bid for that, and that's going to take a little bit of time. And like Mandy alluded to earlier, there's a lot of things that we just don't know about right now. There's legislation, and we're trying to get through a land conveyance to the Boys and Girls Club. And once we get to those points, I think we would feel comfortable in pulling the trigger on going to the sports complex if that's the direction we're going to go in. We just certainly don't want to put that cart before the horse. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get through all of those things, and then hopefully, everything works out the way we've planned it to, and we can move forward on the sports complex. But we're about through design. In the end, at least we'll have that design, and hopefully we can get it all done.
All right. Would you say that it might be on the agenda after June when the legislative session closes, Mandy? I mean, is that realistic?
To go
conveyance.
The conveyance, yeah. We'll convey that land after. There are still several things that the Boys and Girls Club have to do before they can say 100% we're going to do this project, and we're going to wait until that point before we convey the land. Now, if we did convey the land and something happened, there's going to be a clause in there that would reverse it. So, but there's no use in us giving them the land if they're not 100%, and until you have all your financing and all your plans and everything. I think they're 100% committed, but there's still just a few ducks that you have to get in a row with any project. And so when they're golden, and that will probably be after the legislature session ends, when they're golden, we know all the plans. We know they're not going to have to come up with another $13 million to pay for it because of legislation. Then we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay, so is that the value of the land?
No. That's if they have to pay. For those of you that don't know, the legislation is saying, hey, if the city has any part, even giving a little land or anything, now these other organizations are required to pay prevailing wage. And that would add, I think, at least another $13 million to the project. Yeah, so is that the number you heard?
Yeah, I've heard budget numbers from Rusty to the tune of $37 million. So you can take 30% of that, and that's where you come up roughly with that figure that Mandy said. So
and that's just the pool and rec center.
That would, yes, and that would just be for prevailing wages.
And so, and if that's true, that's a different ballgame. They're going to have to say we're going to wait, I would suspect, or we're only going to do a very small portion of it. And so we do have to find out about that legislation before they'll know what they can do, because that will affect this project if it passes. I would suspect, unless there's some grandfathering in clause, that if it's already somehow the ball has started rolling, but we just don't know any of that yet.
Exactly, and that everybody's waiting for that other shoe to drop. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for the update. We won't talk about any other aspects of it until it becomes, we have more information. That's the only thing that we can do is act on the best information. That brings us to probably the place where we can close on a happy note. Things seem to be going well at the golf course, James?
Yes, very well. I'm very happy about that. And just real quick, our longtime superintendent, Pete Dondero, retired in early March. We were very fortunate to do some in-house promotions with our existing staff up there. That has been very small over the last few years. But we promoted Austin Bachman to superintendent, and we also promoted Greg Tomlinson, who's been there for quite a while, to a lead maintenance worker up there. We were also able to fill a full-time position that we hadn't been able to fill for a number of years. So Jacob Lister is our newest full-time hire up there, and we have a full seasonal staff. So things are looking really good up at the golf course. Came out of winter nice. They've already hit the ground running with a full staff, and it's showing. And I'm excited when I go up there. The attitude of the golfers and everybody up there is really good right now, and I hope that just keeps going on. And I have all the faith in our staff. I'm really excited about our staff right now. And so doing a great job up there. And get out and swing some clubs. It's going well. Our new golf pro, Rick Longhurst, and our new bar and restaurant team, John Carr and his company, the club at Ruby View, I've heard really good things about that up there. So go up and have a bite to eat if you get a chance and enjoy.
Yeah, it is a municipal golf course. So again, it's one of the local amenities that we get to enjoy as city, county residents, travelers, what you name it. So enjoy that. It's a beautiful space, and looking forward to going up and having a burger, something myself at the restaurant there. It's always such a great place to sit and enjoy that atmosphere. So thanks, Absolutely. You guys. Well, we got through a lot of things today. Did we get to most of what you were hoping to, James Wiley?
We did. I will really quick a note on the Snow Bowl. So most of us remember we had an awesome winter, but we had to shut down. We had some malfunctions with the lift. We fortunately got a lot of those taken care of. There's still a few glitches in it. The lift does function, but I want to get it right. So we will have a contractor out here starting the week of May 14th, rewiring our safety circuit from top to bottom, and that'll be a big improvement for the lift, and it won't be glitching out so much on us and us having to troubleshoot when we're actually trying to get the lift from the bottom to the top so much. So that's going to be a big improvement up there. And then on the tail ends of that, we will also be upgrading our main electrical control panel. So like I mentioned with the pool, this is also an old facility, and it's stuff that just has to be done, to keep us moving. So we're looking good at that. We were going to have an archery shoot this weekend, but it's still a little wet and a little muddy and still a little bit of snow up there that's coming off. So that's been postponed to the middle of July. So stay tuned for that. But we're looking forward to having that archery shoot up there in the summer.
Thanks, James. That's terrific. It is a multi-use facility, the Elko Snow Bowl, and they have some recreation trails as well. So, James, thanks for the update. We always appreciate your time. I know you're probably going back to do some more work, so thank you. And Mandy, again, thank you for your time. And I think you have to probably get back to the high school, right?
I do.
And play piano.
It's true, yeah.
For the award-winning Elko High School Choraleers.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for another edition of our radio show, Elko Live, with an update in city news here on KELK.